Consider this a super review of this NordicTrack's flagship bike, the S27i, and definitely the most immersive experience I've ever had on an indoor fitness bike. And by the end of this video, you'll know everything you need to know about the S27i and whether it's the bike for you. Let's get cracking. First things first, and if the S27i is the room, then this, the S22i, is certainly the elephant. So should you go all out and buy the more expensive 27i with its 27-inch screen, or this, the incredibly capable S22i with its 22-inch screen? Are they just the same bike with different screens? The answer is yes and no. Let's have a quick look. One of the first major differences is where the weights are stored. So on the S27i, you can see that the weights are stored at the back of the bike. Whereas over on the S22i, you can see the weights are stored here, just by the handlebars. And because most of the workouts you'll do on these bikes are these outdoor scenic rides, and that noise is just the incline motors adjusting. So as the rider goes uphill, so does the bikes. But because the weights are there, then there's actually not much point in them being there if the vast majority of your rides are going to be these outdoor scenic rides. In fact, you may not even keep your weights on your bike. This makes a brilliant shoe holder. And at the front here, once your phone is on this part, then that takes up most of this space. But you can actually use these bits where the weights were just to store your keys, headphone cases, etc. So it is a little bit useful. Next is water bottle holders. So the S27i here doesn't have any water bottle holders here, but it does have one water bottle holder here, which is quite handy, whereas the S22i has two water bottles holders here. So if you're on a particularly long ride, then you might find that having two water bottles is actually better for you. The disadvantage of having it here is occasionally on a really big uphill ride, you might find yourself kneeing your water bottle across your gym floor. On both bikes, I would recommend just putting a phone holder here, then that frees up this space, and then you still get access to all 1, 2, 3, 4 handholds. Both bikes have the same -10 to +20 incline and decline motors. And I know I talk about this a lot, but it's such a good feature. When your bike's matching the terrain of the instructors, it really does add to the experience. The motors, as far as I can tell, are exactly the same. So let me just show you these. I'm going to put them on maximum height now. Excuse me having my back to you. Let's see if I can press them both at the same time. And there they go. So let's see if they should just both stop at the same time. I think that was about the same. You can see better than I can. Let's go all the way down to the decline, which simulates going down a hill. As far as I can tell, they're going at exactly the same speed. Yeah, so exactly the same motors in there. The next thing I want to show you is tablet speed. So both of these are iFit's latest tablets. Let's see if there's any difference in speed. Right, I'm going to try and do this again at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Let's see how long it takes to load a workout. So I'm going to do these real time. With NordicTrack workouts, there's a little bit of spinny wheel. Now, when you're in the workout, that's fine. But it can take like a second or so longer than you might expect to get there. But they do get there, and when you're in them, like I've mentioned, they're amazing. I absolutely love them. So let's see, we can already see that on the 22i, this kind of menu card takes up the whole screen, whereas it's exactly the same size on here, but just takes up less of the screen. Let's see if I can hit these start buttons at the same time. It's hard. This is harder than it looks. Right, this is about my 5th take. So let's see if I can do this. That's in the right place, that's in the right place. Yes! That is hard. Let's see how long they take to load. So I think they're going to load in exactly the same time, or there's going to be nothing in it. So that's it. Yeah, I think they have. Yeah, I think they're exactly the same time. So let's actually go into the workout. This is the waiting room. So before you start a ride, you can change any settings you want to change to the sound, or you can connect your Bluetooth devices. And let's see if I can start this workout. Right, wish me luck. And here we are. I think there's nothing in it really, is there? So maybe that was like half a second quicker. But once you're in the workout, you're in the workout. Apart from the difference in screen size, you're not going to get a faster tablet with the 27i, I don't think, because in my experience, they're just as quick. I've done over 100 rides on this and a few dozen rides on this one now. The next obvious difference is tablet size. So this one is 5 inches bigger than this one. And when I look at these images side by side, yes, this one is more immersive. You can see more of the cloud line here, more between the rider's head and the information bar there than you can on this one. When you're sitting on these bikes, when you're up close, it really is an immersive experience on this one more than it is this one. I've said this one a lot. However, when I'm riding this one, I don't feel like I'm getting less of an experience than when I'm riding this one. I would explain the difference, like, you know, when you go to the cinema, your local cinema, and it's a multiplex, and you buy your ticket and you realise you're not in one of the bigger screens that they've got in that cinema. But by the time the trailers have finished and you've eaten all your sweets, that difference is gone. You can't tell. It's still an amazing experience, whether you're in screen 8 or in screen 1. And I would say it's the same for these bikes. Before I got the 22i on the right here, I would alternate between this, the 27i, and then I'll be on my treadmill, the 2450, and I'll be using this. So this has a 22-inch monitor, which is exactly the same as the monitor on the bike. And there was never a time when I thought I was getting a lesser experience switching from this onto the 22-inch screen on the treadmill and on this 22-inch screen on the 22i. The only thing I do notice between the two and in favor of the 22i is when you're really going for it on a ride, this bike has less screen wobble than this bike. I don't know how obvious that is. But this screen, because it's bigger and heavier, does have a bit more movement in, but I'm moving with the bike, so that doesn't really make that much difference. Before I move on to the specifications of the actual bike part of these machines, I want to say if you're thinking about buying either one of these bikes or any NordicTrack equipment, please use my link in the description. That will take you to the best price on NordicTrack's website, and it also helps support the channel, which is greatly appreciated. Just like the monitors, where this one is 1080p, and so is this one. I think some people think this might be 4K. Then the bikes are, apart from the cosmetic differences or the small differences we've talked about, the bikes are exactly the same. So I've spent a long time looking at the specs on these bikes, and there's no difference. Have a look. Use the link I've put in the description. You'll be able to see the ins and outs of these bikes. You know, it's quite a long list of specifications, and there's no difference between the two. And when I'm riding these bikes, I genuinely cannot tell which one I'm on. They feel exactly the same to use. One thing to consider is size. So both of these bikes have a really nice small footprint, much smaller than a tread or a rower, but let me just stand next to them here. I'm 5'7.5". And if you're riding these bikes for 3 hours a week, say, there's 165 hours where this bike is just going to be sitting in situ, wherever it may be in your house or your garage. So if this is in a room that you use a lot, this one is like noticeably bigger side by side than this one. The reason being is it's not only taller, but this monitor is just a lot bigger in this dimension as well. At the start of this video, I said I'd talk to you about the price difference and how it's not 25% difference. If you go onto NordicTrack's website, then generally, unless there's a sale on, this bike the sticker price is 25% more than this bike. But that's not the whole story. Because both of these bikes also have a subscription, you'll need to factor that into your overall cost of ownership. Let me explain. So we buy our subscription annually. We pay $250 a year, and that's for a family membership, and that's for five users. So in this case, if I'm taking the price of this bike, which is about $2,000 normally, if I'm paying $250 a year, then over 5 years, I'm perhaps going to pay $1,250 for membership, which makes this bike $3,250 to own for 5 years. There's another video where I talk about when you first get these bikes, they try and get on a monthly subscription for a family membership. don't do that. Just buy it annually if you can. Or if you start on a monthly subscription, as soon as Black Friday or a sale comes along, switch over to an annual membership, because that's where you get the best. We found that's when you get the best prices. So this bike is 2,500, and if you add in the subscription to that, that makes this bike 3,750. So if the cost of this bike over the course of 5 years is 3,250, and the cost of this bike is 3,750 when you include that 5 years worth of membership, then the price difference between this bike and this bike means that this one is only about 15% more expensive, and not the 25% that you might see on the sticker price. So if price is like in your mind, then the price difference isn't quite as great as you might think it is. It's also called I want it maths. So if you've got somebody in your house and you need to justify the extra cost for this, for instance, then you just use I want it maths and it virtually pays for itself. Before I switch to NordicTrack bikes, treadmills, and also their amazing rower, the RW900, I owned a Peloton tread as well as several Peloton bikes. The Peloton Bike Plus is their flagship bike, and in this segment I'm going to explain the reasons why I changed from riding that to riding the S27i. Before I start, and to put first things first, I just want to say that I'm a huge fan of Peloton. So in addition to the 3 Peloton bikes I've owned and loved, I've also had a Peloton tread along with the Peloton guide. The only product I haven't liked that Peloton make is the Peloton guide. I think the rest are fantastic, and I think if you get those, you'll be very, very happy with them. In fact, last year, I even went to London, can you see me, just there, and did a live ride with Hannah Frankson. One of the highlights of my adult life. So why am I now riding a NordicTrack bike? Let's get to the reasons. Number 1 is tablet size. This is the S27i, and the number correlates to the screen size. So on the S27i, the screen size from corner to corner is 27 inches, which is really quite big and immersive when you're riding, when you're quite close to the screen and riding. Next thing to consider is the type of ride content. I didn't really consider this when I bought my Pelotons, and I did over 400 class rides, and I really like them. If class rides are your thing, then you should 100% get a Peloton bike. But after 400 rides in the same environment, I started to kind of lose interest slightly. So Peloton have got 2 studios. They've got one in New York and they've got one in London. Did I mention? But that's it. So you're in a studio for nearly all their rides. They do have some outdoor rides like this one, but they are limited and nowhere near as kind of put together as these rides are. So what I realized was that I actually prefer these scenic fitness rides to the class rides. And one day you could be mountain biking in Whistler, you could be road riding in Barbados, or this chap's crossing the United States and visiting all the national parks. If class rides are your thing, I would certainly lean towards a Peloton. If you prefer this sort of outdoor riding, then, I mean, iFit, which is the programming on these bikes, is hands down the best. The bike keeps moving, and I want to talk about it in a moment. But yeah, these outdoor fitness rides, if this is your thing, then I don't think there's a better platform. Another consideration is the auto resistance, incline and decline. The Peloton Bike Plus has auto resistance, but weirdly not for their scenic rides. And what that means is, as the terrain changes, so will the resistance on the pedals. If they're going uphill, it will get harder to cycle. If they're going downhill, it will get easier. And it's auto adjusted by the instructor, which is another great feature. And you can manually adjust this resistance if you want to, but I barely touch it. And it is kind of fitted to you. So if I'm an intermediate rider, which means if I do an easy ride, they're perhaps a bit too easy for me, but if I do an advanced ride, they're perhaps a bit too hard. However, when I start these rides, I can tell the bike that I want to be harder than the actual ride itself. And as the resistance in the ride does this, I'll be doing this above it. I hope that makes sense. And on an advanced ride, where the resistance might be up here, I can make it so that I'm following the ride, but I'm at a lower level. Now, before I talk about another feature that I really like, I just want to say, if you're enjoying this video, then I know everyone says it, please hit the like button. It really does help us out. And if you're thinking about buying a NordicTrack Studio Cycle or any other NordicTrack bike, I'll put a link in the description and also the pinned comment. That will take you to the best price on NordicTrack's website, and it also helps support the channel. So thank you very much. Next feature I absolutely love is this one here, and it's the auto fan. So when you're cycling, you don't want to be sitting in your own kind of musk. So it has an auto fan feature, and you can see that it's put the auto fan on. I'm not pedaling, so there's nothing coming out. But the harder I pedal, you should be able to hear that fan just kick in. So the harder you pedal when you're on your workout, the harder this fan blows. It is just genius. The NordicTrack bikes come with weights as standard. It's not part of a package. And if you don't want to ride in cycling shoes, then the pedals are dual-sided. So you can ride with a cage one side and an SPD cleat on the other side. This is especially good if you're like my household, where you have, say, one rider, me, who rides a lot, who wants to use cycling shoes, but the rest of the family are very casual riders and I don't want to buy 4 extra pairs of shoes. Lastly is the audio tracks. So with these rides, you can separate the instructor from the music. And this is really handy if, like me, for instance, I have the instructor's voice on, I listen to my own music or an audio book or a podcast a lot of the time, or it might be the other way around. I might not want to hear the instructor, I might just want to have the music on. So when you click on the screen, it brings you up to these audio settings. So in this case, I can just turn the music all the way down. You've got a master volume here as well. And then I've just got the instructor's voice. And this morning I was doing this and I just had some Spotify playing in the background.
Hydration, the stronger you will bounce back.
And when you do this, it tells you on the screen where your RPM should be if you're not listening to the instructor, and the resistance is auto anyway, so that gets changed for you. And in this last section, I'd like to show you my top tips if you're thinking about getting an S27i and how you can get the most out of your bike. First, a quick pre-tip tip. If, like most people, you don't use the weights, these actually make really good shoe hangers. It's important to keep the place tidy. So tip number 1, if you're doing off the bike workouts, you can just turn the screen around like this, but look what happens. It's not straight, is it? So if this happens to you and you want a straight screen when you're working out off the bike, all you need to do is use the incline button to lift the bike up until the screen's straight. Next is headphone connection, especially if you use these. So if you're an Apple AirPod user, you'll probably know already that they don't often play that well with Android devices. And there's also the auto connect feature. So there's several pieces of equipment in here, and these will auto connect to my phone first. I have to disconnect them to try and connect. You know the story. So because I've got several things in this gym, I just bought some less than $20 headphones from Amazon. These have got 4.5 stars, they're less than $20, and each piece of equipment in here has its own dedicated set of headphones, and that means as soon as I open this box, they auto connect to this device. I don't even know what the brand is, but I just picked the best ones with the highest rating under $20, and they just connect straight away. My next tip is scheduling workouts. So when you first come into the screen here, it will offer you lots of workouts that are featured now, the latest from iFit, rides that it suggests for you. There's a lot of content on here, and you might find that you want to do more than one workout, but you're going to pick one, but you don't want to lose the other one because you want to do that next time you're on the bike. Let me show you how to schedule a workout. I'm going to do this one today. This one's suggested for me, but I quite fancy this one. So I'm going to schedule that one for later on. Today's Tuesday. I'm going to hit the schedule button, and I'm going to do that one on Saturday when I'm next on the bike. So that one's scheduled for me. I can then go back into this one and then do this one as I would have done normally. And then when I get on the bike Saturday, the other workout will be waiting for me. Even if I don't get on the bike till Sunday or Monday, it'll still be there queued. Next is dark mode. There's a lot of white on this screen, which might get a bit much for you sometimes. So just click the 3 lines there at the top and then click on appearance, and then you can change it from light mode to dark mode. That will then reset the machine, and then you've got dark mode here instead of light mode. I actually think this looks a little bit better. Next is picture quality. So these screens are 1080p, and the workouts, the outdoor workouts, are filmed in kind of like real life, real-time locations. So occasionally the picture quality can drop momentarily if they're going down a mountain, for instance. But what you may find is the whole workout isn't the best picture quality. And generally the reason for that is because it's one of their older workouts. So the workouts they filmed in the last sort of couple of years going backwards, these are generally good, quite good picture quality, but the older ones, it can suffer slightly. Let me show you what I mean. So with these workouts, for instance, which are excellent, and I would actually say just put with the picture quality. So you can see when this workout starts. Now, quite often they are a little bit grainy when the workouts start. I think it's a buffering thing, but you may be able to see that it's not the most amazing quality. It's kind of just okay. And the reason for that is that this is one of their slightly older workouts, and the way to tell the age of a workout is when the map comes up. Because when they show a map of the route, you'll see the date on the map, or you can just pick the latest from iFit. And generally these are made up, even though some of them are compilations, from their latest workouts. Next is Smart Adjust. So if you're a beginner, for instance, you may think that you just need to stick to the beginner workouts. But if you switch on Smart Adjust down here, this will modify the workout to suit you. So if this is too hard, you'd lower it down a bit, and it will carry on throughout the whole workout. So in conclusion, as you can probably see, I'm in deep. It's like Apple. You start with a phone, then you get yourself a watch, then you next thing you know, you bought a MacBook Air. I mean, once you get one thing, it is quite addictive. And the good news is as well, is the more NordicTrack equipment that you do get, if you do buy more, the better the value it becomes, because one membership covers everything. I've got a couple of bikes. I've got a Peloton Bike, which also runs iFit software, 2 treadmills and a rowing machine, all on one membership, which I absolutely love. Well, I hope you found this video useful, but if you want even more on the S27i, then please watch this video here. In this video, I give you more of an overview of just the bike and also more of the features which I really love. Until next time, see you soon.